So, this is the long-awaited video for my promotion of my book, Midnight Reverie. First of all, I want to start off by thanking everyone who liked the page. It really means a lot as I'm trying to get it promoted, and since it is my first book, I'm kind of excited about this video and the whole process of promoting it. Liking, inviting your friends to like it because you think might enjoy the book will be a great thing, and I hope by putting this video on, I'll get the ball rolling for it. So basically in this video, I'm going to start off by talking about who I am as a writer, and about the book as well, how it started off, and answering the questions that were posted on the status. So here goes. So, who am I as a writer? Okay, there's so much to say about who I am because I express all my emotions and all my dreams through my stories. So if you want to really figure out who I am as a person and as a writer, you should read my book. And no, I'm not just saying that so you can buy it. But things to know about me. I first started writing when I was about 7 years old. I was in 2nd grade. It was when I first started learning English, and I wrote an illustrated version, my own version of Jack and the Beanstalk with a prince and a princess. And it was entitled The Prince and the Princess, which is so original. It was romantic, and it's an adventure story, probably just 10 pages long, but that was my first story. And A Midnight Reverie is the first published story I've written, but I've written a lot off publishing. And I collaborate a lot on websites such as Protagonize, and I write stories on there with other fellow authors, which really helped nurture my skills when I was growing up, because I joined the website when I was about 12 years old. And seeing my writing at the beginning of when I joined it, as compared to when it is now, how it is now, it's improved so much. And there are a lot of questions you guys ask me, both that relates to the book as well as like my own writing, like how what inspires me to write. So all those questions will be answered. So there's not really much to say about who I am as a writer, because you just have to read my works and find out. And another thing I can say is that I do write poetry. I do screenplays and script writing and what else? Stories, obviously. But books are the main focus. So, A Midnight Reverie is a teen story based on something I wrote when I was actually about 10 years old. I wanted to get this book written. I had the idea of the story when I was a kid, but I never really knew how to get it going. And at the age of 14, I entered a competition, an online competition called National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo, and which is basically where you have to write a 50,000-word novel within a month. And I thought, hey, why not go for it? And I decided to use the idea that I first came up with when I was like 11 for the competition, and hence A Midnight Reverie was born. The story focuses on a girl. Yeah, it's a girl, and basically all the experiences she goes through when she grows up, from her childhood to her last year in high school. And it's a lot about family and friendship and romance, but it's not a full throttle romance, I would say, even though a lot of the focus in the story is about her romantic escapades, but it's a lot about family and friendships as well. So those of you who like a heartwarming book, you should definitely read A Midnight Reverie. And yeah. Okay, this is very difficult to answer because I came up with the idea for the story when I was like 11, and I don't exactly remember what was going through my head at the time. But what I do know is that I've always been intrigued by romance, like the genre for it, because possibly growing up I read a lot of fairy tales, the cliche ones where the prince always gets the princess, or TV shows like Inuyasha, which is probably something you guys don't know, but it's an anime, and just a lot of cookie, mushy romance stuff, and that kind of definitely had an influence on me, because all I wanted to do was write this perfect love story between two characters, two amazing characters, perfect guy and a perfect girl. But then when it actually came along to like writing a Midnight Reverie, I realized that that's just boring, you know? You can't have a perfect guy and a perfect girl and have a perfect love story, because realistically that never really happens. That's the kind of stuff we read in fairy tales. And when I wrote the book, I was 14, not 11. So I realized I wanted there to be conflict, and I just created the characters with major character flaws, and the plot had a lot of, you know, a lot of turmoil and sufferings for the character and characters involved, and inspirations would basically be my everyday life, what I see, couples, love, parents, like everything really inspires me to write a Midnight Reverie. But I would really just say that what really got me into writing it the way the book it is now, like how it ends and everything, is more like the battle between a perfect romance versus realistic ones, and trying to get it into a book where family plays a huge role as well. So yeah. Okay, how it feels to be finally published. It feels great. I mean, it was always my dream to get at least one book published, and ta-da, it's published. And I'm really happy with myself, but it's definitely not the end. Like, now that I've gone published, I really want to keep going and get more of my stories written, so that one day I can look back on AMR, Midnight Reverie, and see, whoa, that's how I used to write when I was like 14 years old. This is how I write now. And, you know, I want it to be the first stepping stone to success. So, yeah. And, the hardest part of publishing, it was probably, well, to be honest, I didn't really edit the book that much. Like, I edited the grammatical mistakes and all the commas, missing commas and sentences and shifting around certain paragraphs, but I never really took charge and rewrote the whole book. I didn't add content to the book because I wanted it to be how it originally was when I wrote it, and it's just, I think that was the hardest part for me, because as a writer I felt compelled to edit it as much as I could, like edit the hell out of the book before I published it, because I wanted to be perfect. But I still wanted to be the book I wrote when I was 14 years old, my first book, so that one day I can look back on it and see how much I've grown as a writer. So that was the hardest part for publishing it, because just before I hit the submit files for reviews button, I was just like, I'm not really sure, should I publish it? Should I go ahead with the mumbo jumbo mistakes that there might be inside? But you know what? To hell with that. I'm gonna publish it. It's my first book. First book's not perfect. So yeah, that was the hardest part. Well, some of it is. A Midnight Reverie isn't really based on any people or incidents I know happened, but like personally. But my work is definitely a manifestation of my own thoughts and my own dreams. So I could say it's based on reality, like my own life, certain things from my own life, and from things I see on the street, people I know, but not a very blunt representation. For example, Lillian isn't the exact same character as one of my friends, right? I would say definitely that my life does play a huge part in the ideas I come up with for my novels, but not directly based off of it. So yeah. Well, what you asked a question about when and why I started writing and everything that inspired me to come to this part, so I guess I've kind of answered that. Started writing when I was 11. Family is a huge kind of lesson that I try to share in the book, that no matter how many friends you have, no matter how many things you go through in your life, there's always family, there's always people there to support you. And as much as the story is like a full throttle romance, it's also a lot about friendship and family, and that friends are your family, so you should never, you should always value them in your life. So I really take that seriously in the book. And other key messages, no, there's no such thing as a perfect love story. There's always something that gets in the way, but something like part of what makes a perfect love story is the conflict. So if you get past it with your special someone, then it's meant to be. And yeah, what else? Friendship, family, love. Now, those three things are very crucial in the story. So yeah. And the weirdest question asked by the weirdest gal was, what's the weirdest sentence in the book? This took quite a, I really had to dig around to find a few sentences, and there were a lot of funny sentences, not necessarily weird, but I found one, and yeah, I'll just share it with you guys, and it's not as creepy as it sounds. I mean, it sounds creepy, but once you read it, you guys will realize it's not really that creepy. So, the weirdest sentence is, what kind of a gang involves you acting like a rapist? Judge all you want, that's a sentence. Make any face you want, I really don't mind. But, thanks for watching, guys. This is your glimpse into Midnight Red Read. Any videos, extra videos you guys would like me to make? Anything about, I don't know, maybe any more questions you guys have, just feel free to ask. I'll try to make another video, or possibly answer to, Facebook comments and stuff. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. And buy the book.